Well, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, welcome to our episode of Ascendant Lord in the seventh house. And what happens when your Ascendant Lord goes into the seventh house down below? Okay? So, what is the Ascendant Lord? First of all, Ascendant is your very first house in the horoscope. It is the house that represents the sign that was rising from the eastern horizon where the sunrise is formed at the time you were born. So when you were born, the sun was setting maybe on the west, and let's say Libra was rising at that time onto the first house. That becomes your very first sign, your first house, your ascendant lord. It's a part of your personality. It shows your bodily figure. It shows a part of your ego. It sets the entire tone of your entire life. What kind of person you will be and what way you will interact with every aspect of your life, from your family to your colleagues to your wife to your in-laws to your teachers. Okay, but now we're gonna discuss it in the seventh house. So what is the seventh house? Seventh house is known as the house directly opposite to you. That means first house is yourself, seventh house is the other people, and it represents a whole lot of different people. It can represent dealing with courts and courthouses. Okay, it can represent dealing with customers, as in because it's a house of business and trade, and mainly it's also it's known as the house of marriage, partnership, and unions. Any kind of legal partnership. If you and your buddy, like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, created Apple, they formed a union. They formed a corporate marriage with each other. And how well did it go? That will determine from how their horoscope matching would go when you would do their horoscope together. And it seemed like it was a pretty good match. Okay, so that's what seventh house is. It represents your desire to interact with other. Why desire? Because seventh house is two things. Actually, it's three things. Actually, two things. Yes. It's a Kendra house, meaning that it's one of the strongest pillar of your house, which it represents your spouse. Because without that other person, you'll always feel incomplete. You have this natural DNA that requires you to be attracted to the opposite sex or same sex nowadays. Okay, and then it is known as the Kama house. Third house, seventh house, and 11th house are Kama house. Kama houses are houses of desire. Third house represents the desire of being talented with your skills, with your hobbies. Like, hey, I want to be a great basketball player. I want to be a great dancer. That's third house. Seventh house, hey, I want the most beautiful, hot chick as my wife. Or I want that muscular guy with like just the most biggest, humongous, great arms. That's what seventh house is. And then 11th house is I want Bill Gates kind of gains. So, that's what it becomes. It becomes a Kama house, desire house. But these houses are not considered so important because of the fact the scriptures of astrological knowledge from the Vedas give more emphasis on your dharma versus your kama. Dharma is something you should be doing, okay? Kama is something you want to do. And the thing is, in this day and age, Kama houses are holding more emphasis versus Dharma houses. Because everybody is caught up in this Maya and delusion and illusion of wanting something, gaining something. When they watch televisions, they see the most amazing looking spouse. Oh, I want Kim Kardashian as my wife because she's so hot. But they don't realize that true beauty of a spouse should not be from outside, but from the inside. I'm just saying that people go have this, this fundamental image of what a wife should look like, which is wrong because they don't use their dharmic essence. Instead, they use their kama. So this is a house of desire. I would say illusionary desire. Okay. So when your first lord goes into the seventh house, it shows that you yourself are no longer learning things by yourself. You're no longer having experience of what you should be having. You rely on others to give you the experience that you should be receiving. Your confidence, your self-esteem, and part of your personality always wants to be involved with others in order to find oneself. You meet a lot of people who says, oh my God, I cannot stay without a relationship. Oh my God, I need friends. I hate being alone. What happens is these people must have a very strong connection to the seventh house, where their entire body, soul, and their physical self needs to interact with other people constantly, needs to go out in the world constantly, needs to go away from home constantly to feel like, I'm in my element. Where some people, they can be alone, they're most comfortable. When they're with others, they're most comfortable. Those are the people that are kind of balanced. But what happens is, this is the house that is, makes you discover yourself through other people. And actually, when I was saying earlier, the 2 and 3 things, well, the third thing is, 7th house is also known as the Marka house, meaning that it is the killer house. It's a house that inflicts death. 2nd house, 7th house, and 8th house is known as the houses that inflict death. But does this mean if your ascendant lord body goes into the 7th house, you're going to die? Well, everybody's going to die, no matter if they have the 1st house in the 1st lord or 1st house in the 8th lord, and you're still alive because you're watching this video. You're interested in this video, huh? So you are still alive. So Marka does not mean that you're going to die during the time period of your ascendant lord or during the time period of the lord of where your ascendant is placed. No. It shows that there's going to be a lot of responsibility upon you through the 2nd, 7th, and 8th house, which always deal with family, marriage, and dealing with the family assets and assets of joint assets. All these things give you responsibility and stress. So your entire life now, your 1st house, which represents where your life focuses, goes into dealing with the matters of the 7th house. Whether it's being stuck dealing with business and trade, dealing with legal partnerships, dealing with courthouses, or dealing with your spouse. You're always going to be forced to deal with these issues in your life. However, not everybody will have a same experience. Like if you just read 1st house in the 7th lord, there's just one set definition, which is absolutely wrong. And that only came to me after my own experience of doing consultation of other people. When I discovered that 1st and the 7th lord was not matching that mundane definition, that's when your brain starts to think outside the box of this mundane definition or old Vedic text definition that no, every planet brings their own energy into the 7th house. So you can take any ascendant lord for that matter. And what do I mean by lord? Because people ask me, what does the meaning of lord? Lord is simply the owner, the planet that owns a sign. He becomes a lord of that sign. Like Mars owns Mars owns Aries and Scorpio. So Mars is a lord of Aries and Scorpio. So, and in each zodiac sign could be in any house depending upon whose horoscope you're looking at. So you can have Aries in the 3rd house. So when I say Aries in the 3rd house lord, meaning I'm talking about Mars. Okay. So if you take any ascendant, let's say you start with the biggest planet, Sun. Sun goes into the 7th house as your ascendant lord, meaning that you're a Leo ascendant. And 7th house is controlled by Aquarius, meaning it's controlled by Saturn. And if you have read my book or if you have watched my previous videos for the past 6-7 months, you would know that Scorpio and Aquarius are karmically backlogged signs, that any planet in these 2 signs have to go through some sort of a transformation and they have to pay some sort of a debt in this life in order to progress. Okay, so then you look at the nature of the planet that's in the 7th house or any house that you're trying to study. Well, what is Sun? Sun is not just simply represents your sun sign. Sun is a lot more than that. Sun is a significator of your personality along with your moon sign and ascendant. Sun is a significator of your health. Sun is a significator of government and how you're going to deal with government in this life. Are you going to have a lot of issues with the government or not? Then Sun represents your father or fatherly figure, somebody who raised you as a father in your life. Sun represents that. Okay, Sun is a significator of your career. Because it's known as the Karka of the 10th house. So it represents where your career is going to be. It's a small indication of it. Okay, so let's see how many things Sun is representing. And now he's also your ascendant lord, meaning your personality is really being formed by the ascendant and Sun. And Sun is controlling both of that. And when it goes in the 7th house, it shows that this person is not only going to have to deal with other people, but guess what? Sun is a king, okay? A king likes to be on the throne of the first house where nobody else is there. But then the king has to go to the seventh house, the marketplace. It is the people where merchants are doing business. And this person is, when he does business, he puts upon his power over he puts his authority over others. So what this shows that this person is very controlling personality, being in the seventh house in Aquarius. He's a very controlling personality, and yet he wants to work with other people. So there's a bit of a confusion this person goes through. He said, look, I cannot do anything alone. Okay, I need a team, I need other people. But what happens is this person will drive their team, their partner, and their spouse, to the nutball ball game park. I don't know what that means right now, but it simply means that you're going to drive your team mad. You're going to drive your team nuts. You're going to drive the people you work with absolutely boganzily crazy, because they won't be able to take your authoritativeness. They're like, no, this is not the 8th century where I have to work under a king. Okay, you're just a manager. You're just the owner of a company. Have some respect for me. So Sun is power and authority, and you being a Leo ascendant, meaning that you're projecting your power and authority onto others. So whether if it's your spouse, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's the people you're working with or people you come in contact with, they feel this authoritativeness from you. And Sun is a hot planet. Wherever Sun goes, he will burn some of the significance of that house. So what it does, it kind of burns the significance of the seventh house, where that marriage could end up in a divorce, where marriage could happen late, okay, where your spouse will be so egoistic like you that there will be this battle between you, okay, and Sun is the father. So what it shows, when Sun goes into the seventh house of Aquarius, meaning that there's a lot of backlog issues with the father. Either father wasn't absent in your life, father wasn't a good teacher, father was always traveling, being away from home, and you did not have the guidance of the father in your life. So you look at the different planets in ascendant, like Mars goes into the seventh house. Mars is going to give a lot of power struggle with your spouse and partner. You're, again, like the sun, Mars is also a hot planet, but it's a soldier. He goes out to fight, he goes out to compete, he goes out to battle. And Mars has a lot of energy. So you're going to exert a lot of energy and you're going to demand a lot from your spouse. You're going to fight that who's right and who's wrong in the marriage. And without any positive aspect, it can show that there's a lot of even physical fighting in the marriage, especially if the Lord of the seventh house is in a bad place, which is Venus in Mars's case. Okay, both Aries and Scorpio gets the Venus as their seventh house. But it shows a lot of sexual desire. It shows a tremendous need to interact with other people. But then what happens is you become competitive with them. You compete. Okay, my spouse is making this much, I can probably make more. Oh, my spouse already has a house before marriage. Well, let me see if I can get 2 more houses upon her. So there's a lot of power struggle that comes into play. Okay, when Mercury goes into the seventh house, Mercury shows that this person is going to rely on the other person for their communication. Their communicative ability and their analytical mind and their logical mind will only develop when other people are involved with them. If you gave these people like things to work on and learn being logical, analytical on their own, they won't be, So their whole focus then, their intelligence goes to the seventh house, where they rely on other people to give them knowledge, to give them the logical sense of mind. But Mercury doesn't do bad in the seventh house. It actually does well. Because although he's in the sign of his enemy, he's still going to be involved in a lot of intellectual conversation. This person is going to want to have communication with their partner, with their spouse. Their whole entire life goes into communicating with other people. That means they make very good businessmen, because selling and doing business is all about communication. And when Mercury goes into that Jupiter sign, it shows that this person can be very philosophical and very spiritually approach in their ability to sell you something. And when somebody's spiritual and when somebody's philosophical, and do a whole lot of hoo-la-la, they can sell you anything. So Mercury, although it's in a sign of religion and rituals and philosophy, he's still curious. Mercury is a curious planet, and he finds his way into using that to his advantage. Moon goes into the 7th house. It shows that there's the mind only feels peaceful when it has security. Mind only feels peaceful when they have a very solid relationship that is full of security, that is full of discipline and commitment. Okay, because when Moon goes into the 7th house, it's controlled by Saturn, Capricorn. And Capricorn is a sign of discipline. It's a sign of structure, organization. So these people long for a partner to give them organization skills, to give them a structure in life, to make them feel secure. Okay, and then mind is also just very much troubled with all these organizational syncrasies that they run into all throughout their life, and they're really burdened by that because, again, it's a heavily induced sign ruled by Saturn. And if Venus goes into the 7th house, it shows a person who's very active with their partner, very sexual with their partner. They love forming a relationship with very, athletic people, people who are very, confident and who have the ability to go out and get whatever they want. Because Venus is sensuality, fine foods, and fine dining, along with forming relationships. So here they expect all that from the other person. They expect the other person to be romantic. They expect the other person to teach them how to be in a good romance. So when Venus goes into the 7th house, what happens is early on, these people run into quite a few bad relationships because of the fact they're trying to learn how to be good in a relationship by other person. So you see, Venus, which represents relationship as your ascendant lord, goes into the 7th house, meaning your knowledge of forming great relationships will be learned through other people, through other relationships, through your business partner. So then they're relying on other people a lot to give them a sense of belonging. And through that belonging, by spending time in 3-4 relationships, they're able to see, this is how I'm supposed to act with other people. So whether if it's Jupiter goes into the 7th house, it shows that Jupiter is knowledge. Okay, Jupiter is intelligence, your true intelligence, your true self-worth, who you are, your higher self is Jupiter. When it goes into the 7th house, meaning that you yourself, your personality, will always learn only through the other person, will only learn through your spouse, through his or her spouse, or in their partnership, and their life lessons comes through other people. They just can't seem to grasp any lessons on their own until somebody comes into their life and gives them a lesson to learn. Saturn can either be very emotionally discharged in a relationship when his ascendant lord goes into the 7th house, where it's looking for discipline and, again, looking for that emotional security, because Saturn itself cannot provide that emotional security for the spouse, whether it's in Cancer or not, because Saturn is not the mind. Saturn is not caretaking like a mother. Saturn is caretaking like a disciplined general. He goes out, hey, stop being emotional. This is what we got to do to achieve this in life. So when they get into marriage, for them, marriage is not a bed of roses and all romance. They're like, look, in order for us to achieve what we want in this marriage, you have to provide this much monthly. I'll provide this much monthly. We're going to save this much. We're going to put this much in this. And what we're going to do, we're going to arrange this house in this manner so we're both happy. They're always doing practical things in marriage. Where this person, although Saturn is a slow-moving planet, so it prolongs the marriage for a long time. That means getting divorced is hard. But what happens is marriage becomes like a business. It becomes like a business partnership. Like, you might marry somebody for the security. And you might marry somebody because you never got emotions from your mother, emotional nourishment from your mother, yet you want that from the spouse. So you married somebody who gave you that motherly nourishment, whether you're a guy or a girl, and you ended up with them because you found that security through them. So guys, this was my analysis of Ascendant Lord in the 7th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Ascendant Lord is placed and if it's in the 7th house or not, for that, check out the links below. Check out my books there, Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get these 2 books, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Just make sure you follow the directions below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time with Ascendant Lord in the 8th house. Bye-bye.